Live from historic Lamert Park in Los Angeles, California. I'm Tavis, Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. Up first, Stanford law professor and noted AI copyright attorney Mark Limley on the legal minefield of AI and how we hold big tech accountable. On the B side of hour two, Heath Mayo, founder of Principles First, shares his take on this month's CPAC, Conservative Political Action Conference, and how his group is now providing an alternative for those on the right and center-right. We'll do that in our second hour. In our third hour, two more conversations. Up first, Boston Globe film critic Odie Henderson is back with his Oscar picks and predictions ahead of the big show this Sunday. And on the B side of our three,
in this very dangerous place, people are coming together to do this work and hold each other accountable, to do this deep soul work and do that thing that we all love called theater. But it was also giving them such beautiful new steps in their life, whether it's to deal with past trauma or even how they got there or the missteps or you name it, but also to do the thing that, like my co-star Clarence would say, gaining tools that once they're out, they become greater citizens for their community, for their families, for each other. So for me, I got all that out of him, and that's what I wanted to imbue this whole film with in every single way. I wanted to make sure that what I care about, and I care deeply about, is how black and brown men are perceived in this country, and how I can be that change, because I know that that's what he was doing on the inside. He's such a gorgeous spirit, and I wanted to give that, and not only for him, but I wanted to be more facilitate being an everyman, showing many, many men's stories.
that is the actor Coleman Domingo talking about the film in which he stars, Sing Sing, Oscar nominated this weekend for 3 awards: Best Actor for Coleman Domingo, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Original Song, Like a Bird, performed by Abraham Alexander and Adrian Casada. The role that Coleman Domingo plays in this film, Sing Sing, is based on a real-life character named John Divine G. Whitfield. It's an amazing film. Coleman does an amazing job. This brother's on fire. Another nomination for Coleman Domingo. But the real-life character, John Divine G. Whitfield, joins us live in studio today on the B side of our third hour. He's in town from back east for the Academy Awards and promised to come by and see us when he was in town. And so I look forward to welcoming Divine G into this studio in our last half hour today. In this first hour, all that said, let's talk politics with the Nation magazine's new columnist, editorial board member, Zephyr Teachout. Her new monthly column is called Anti-Monopolist, and I am pleased to have her on this program. Zephyr, how are you today? Good to have you on.
I am well. I'm so thrilled to be on the program.
It is my honor to have you on. I'm just as thrilled to have you. I'm glad we have an hour to work through some of these issues. Let me just start with some basics. For those of us who are fans of the Nation magazine, Katrina Vanden Heuvel is often a guest on this program, as are other friends of mine there, John Nichols, and just some amazing writers for the Nation magazine. So congrats on the column, the new, relatively new.
Oh, it is such an honor. It's there's some big shoes I'm stepping into here.
Yeah.
It's a magazine with extraordinary writers and such an extraordinary history.
No, both are true. Extraordinary writers, extraordinary history. Elliot Mustall is a guest on this program in a couple of weeks. Brilliant legal mind. So it's a wonderful. Not to mention Bhaskar Sankar. So again, I know everybody over there at the Nation, and it is must reading for me. People always ask me, as I said recently, Tavis, what do you read? And I oftentimes share what's on my reading list with regularity, and the Nation certainly is on that list. Tell me first though about the new column very quickly. We'll jump from there, and why this title, The Anti-Monopolist?
We have such a problem of concentration of power. I mean, I think it's pretty clear right now, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about Elon Musk and some of the other really horrific things that are happening with our federal government. But it long precedes this moment. You know, we have a health insurance industry that is totally concentrated. Our ag system is concentrated. Seeds, ownership of seeds, the ownership of the big tech platforms. In every sector, we have this concentration of power, and the tools that we have to deal with it are anti-monopoly tools. We can actually take on this power. And what I want to do is really focus on, I think a coming column is going to be about the healthcare industry. So all the little choke points that are squeezing us that we can break open. Because we don't have to. Just because we have a capitalist system doesn't mean we need to have this level of concentration of power. So I want to bring the anti-monopolist viewpoint, which, by the way, has been part of the long American tradition for fighting for freedom. It's not just about the economy. It's about actual freedom from the tyranny of these big corporations.
That's a mouthful, and that's just the first response to the first question. I'm glad, as I said a moment ago, I'm glad I have the hour with Zephyr Teachout, new columns for The Nation magazine. Again, her regular column is called The Anti-Monopolist, and she said a few things that are worthy of interrogating and unpacking when we come forward, starting with this notion of squaring what it means to live in a country that is proudly capitalist with this concentration of power. You heard Zephyr say a moment ago, you don't have to have one just because you have the other. I want to unpack that. And this notion of this fight being a part of the fight for freedom and what it really means to live in a country right now where everything, it seems, is monopolistic. A lot to talk about with Zephyr Teachout when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley. Can you dig it? Come on!
This is an ad by BetterHelp Online Therapy. When it comes to relationships, we often hear about the red flags we should avoid, but it's just as important to focus on the green flags. Think about how you want a relationship to feel, one where your boundaries are respected and you're encouraged to be your best self. If you're not sure what that looks like, therapy can help you identify those qualities so you can embody the green flag energy yourself and find it in others. Because whether you're dating, married, or building a friendship, it's time to form relationships that love you back. BetterHelp connects you to a diverse network of over 30,000 therapists worldwide with expertise in a wide range of issues, from depression and anxiety to work and relationships. It's 100% online and sign up only takes a few minutes. Find your green flag energy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/ABC Radio today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ABC Radio.
I have a dream today. They said it couldn't be done. They said we wouldn't make it. But history had other plans. This February, KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates the dreamers, the doers, and the breakthrough makers of Black History Month. Your station, your stories. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2024, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better, business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-652-1714. That's 800-652-1714. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-652-1714 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
He's a paradigm pioneer. and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley in the nation's new columnist, Zephyr Teachout, in this first hour of today's program. Her new column is called The Anti-Monopolist, and she believes and argues in her recent pieces that there are plenty of ways to fight back effectively, starting, as she says, with not panicking in this particular moment. I'm glad we got the hour to sort of work our way through this. But I want to go right quick here, Zephyr, to the point you made a moment ago that jumped out at me, and I suspect others who are listening right now across the country, and that is this notion that we clearly live in a country that is proudly capitalist, and yet somehow that capitalism has led us down a path where there is this extreme concentration of power, this extreme concentration of wealth. You argue that the two things don't have to coexist. Tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, we allowed 500,000 mergers in the 10 years between 2010 and 2020. You know, talk about like a revolution of concentration of powers just within that decade. And then you stretch that out from 1980 to 2020. We had 40 years where we just basically paid no attention to what was happening in terms of mergers and acquisitions and this accumulation of power, and put all our focus on, okay, how are we going to regulate, I don't know, Pfizer? Not, wait, who's Pfizer buying this week? And how did United Healthcare, purchase and purchase and purchase until it's this gargantuan company? And that was a choice really around 1980. Starting with Ronald Reagan, but then Bill Clinton went right along with it, and every president until Biden made a choice to say, we actually think big is good, efficient. We're not worried about concentration of power. That's an old concern. Antitrust law, that's not about democracy. Antitrust law is just about efficiency. And we created monsters. We really did. But it was a choice. Because before, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, we would never allow the kind of concentration of power that we have now. The Supreme Court blocked a shoe merger in Philadelphia with one firm that had 6% of the shoe market. So totally, and that was because people understood, hey, if you allow concentration of power, as one Supreme Court justice said, all forms of power become a government in and of themselves. You're basically creating these mini private governments that are only interested in their own bottom line. So it's a choice. You can say, no, we're not going to allow these mergers. We're not going to allow this kind of uncompetitive activity. Or you can do what we did for 40 years and say, that doesn't matter. We're not worried about power.
I want to come back in a moment to your indictment, because if you don't have one, and clearly you do, I absolutely have an indictment of both Democrats and Republicans for allowing this to happen. But back to your point about Ronald Reagan. What changed? Was it just him, the folk that came in with him, something else happening in the ether that I'm unaware of? What put us on this particular path to this concentration of power, starting with the Reagan era? What happened then?
Yeah. Well, there's a few different stories. One is that we had the crises in the 70s that made people really nervous about prices. Gas lines, and concern we need to do something different. But of course, the 70s is also a big backlash to the civil rights movement. And Reagan comes in, and he embodies this combination of people who want to get rid of antitrust and get rid of civil rights. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. It's quite explicit. In the New York Times discussion of one of his key appointees, he said his key priorities were rolling back civil rights and antitrust laws and abortion rights. So there was this combination of grab for corporate power and a backlash, and Reagan brought those together after the anxiety of the 70s. But he called on a group of economists from the Chicago School, Robert Bork, who became quite famous, and several other economists, all of who argued that we needed to totally overhaul the way we did antitrust law. And he just bought it hook, line, and sinker. His whole administration did. And they literally stopped enforcing antitrust laws. There was a drop of 45% in some areas. But more importantly, they changed the theory. They said the whole purpose of antitrust law is so you can have cheap goods. That's it. You want cheap goods? We're going to get you cheap goods. Forget about power. Forget about democracy. None of that matters. We're going to have cheap goods. And that's the ideology that took over.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, until 2020, it was kind of hard to take that on. And we've been fighting it for 15 years now or so. But after 2020, when everybody's prices went up, we're kind of like, you even failed at the one job. That there's so many problems with this ideology. It's a really, really dangerous ideology. It's the core of the neoliberal ideology. The idea that the markets can figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have any regulation of the markets, and you don't need to worry about power, size, scale, exploitation.
Yeah. As you were talking, a few things came to mind in no particular order. Number one, which we'll talk about as we move through this hour, there is a direct line. Let me back up for a second. I've heard so many people, even conservatives, say those Republicans who supported Kamala Harris. As you recall, in this last campaign, there were a lot of Republicans who wanted anybody other than Donald Trump. There were members of Donald Trump's first administration who lined up in support of Kamala Harris because they argued that Donald Trump represented an existential threat to our democracy. Liz Cheney campaigned famously or infamously with Kamala Harris. And so there were a lot of Republicans saying that Ronald Reagan would not recognize the GOP today. He certainly would not be supportive of Donald Trump. We've heard that sort of narrative. Here's where Donald Trump is about to be Ronald Reagan on steroids, this antitrust effort that you heard Zephyr mention a moment ago. Donald Trump, we'll get to that, is going to make Ronald Reagan and what he did look like child's play over the next 4 years when it comes to antitrust, when it comes to paring down, ridding this country of regulations in every one of these areas of human endeavor and agency in Washington. So put a pin in that just for a second. The other thought that came to mind, Zephyr, when you were talking to your point about Ronald Reagan boldly saying that he wanted to do away with civil rights. I find myself having to remind people of this sometimes, certainly my conservative friends. Ronald Reagan announced his candidacy for president in a place called Philadelphia, Mississippi. This is the place you historians know where they murdered Goodman, Schwerner, and Cheney. This is African American History Month. We know this well. But they murdered these three young civil rights workers, one of them, of course, being an African American, Goodman, Schwerner, and Cheney, murdered in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Now, hold on. I ask you, why is the former governor of California in Mississippi announcing the kickoff of his campaign? If you don't believe me, just Google it, check your history. Ronald Reagan left Bel Air and went to Philadelphia, went to Gut Bucket, Mississippi, where they killed Goodman, Schwerner, and Cheney to announce he was running for president. I digress, but that just underscores the point, in case, not that she needed it, but in case you need to know that Ronald Reagan was clearly, from Jump Street, committed to turning the clock back on civil rights, no different, frankly, than Donald Trump. Again, we'll get to that in just a second. Now, to your point earlier, Zephyr, about what we've been doing for the last 40, 50 years on the watch of both Republicans and Democrats, you hear people all the time say, I certainly hear it, that they vote for the couch because they don't see any real differences anymore between either of these two parties. Both of these parties, one might say, are bought and bossed by big money and big business. Now, I find myself saying, well, there is still some difference between Democrats and Republicans, but on this issue, there really is no daylight. There really is no difference. Both of these parties are bought and bossed by big money and big business, and I think that's the point you were making earlier when you suggested that this has happened on the watch of Republicans and Democrats as well. If I'm wrong, disabuse me of that notion.
Well, you were right for 40 years. And, I mean, I was as surprised as anyone else and thrilled as anyone else. But Joe Biden actually understood that there was a problem.
Okay.
And he gave this, it's more than a speech, but I want to mention the speech. He gave a speech where he said, we did an experiment and it failed in antitrust, which is kind of an amazing thing, like to say that the effort in the last 40 years failed. This effort to try to make antitrust only about efficiency, to wave through mergers, to be light on enforcement, to just basically like this big business knows what it's doing. It's going to deliver us nice shoes, and it's not going to be a problem for our democracy. And he gave that speech, and then he appointed Lena Khan, who to me is one of the great heroes, to be the head of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. And she went, I'm for the Federal Trade Commission, and
FTC,
Rohit Chopra, head of Rohit Chopra, the head of the CFPB. And Lena did an incredible job saying, no, we actually have these laws to make sure that these big companies aren't exploiting us by merging or by getting in shady deals with each other. I'm going to enforce these laws. Wall Street went crazy. There was, in the Wall Street Journal, an op-ed against Lena Khan 100 times during the 4 years that she was there. So it's like almost every 10 days. They were furious that she was actually enforcing the law against business. And I don't mean business in general. A lot of business is great. We're talking monopolistic business that is concentrating power like, Elon Musk is now the avatar of it. But she actually really did a lot. And when you talk about the bipartisan nervousness about that at the top, not at the bottom, people love her. They love her. She also she turned antitrust upside down because instead of just listening to a small club, she went out around the country and she talked to pharmacists who are really desperate right now and are really critical to communities, and said, what's really happening? Who's squeezing you? How's the squeeze happening? And she really learned from the people on the ground, the pharmacists, farmers, drivers, people who are really facing the squeeze. She did incredible work. The Wall Street Journal did everything they could to besmirch her name. They failed. And when you talk about big money, though, Kamala Harris wouldn't say that she even wanted her in her administration because some of Harris's big donors said she shouldn't stick around. That's Reid Hoffman.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking of this moment that we find ourselves in where we're talking about the concentration of power, the concentration of wealth, and why that does not have to be synonymous with the notion of living in a capitalist society. And yet these oligarchs are in our face. You mentioned Elon Musk earlier. Let me turn in this direction. You mentioned, again, Joe Biden a moment ago. So Joe Biden, in one of his speeches before he left the White House, warned us, and frankly, in his goodbye speech from the Oval Office, as I recall, that was a speech where he warned us of the oligarchs, and that we need to be aware that these oligarchs were coming. We've been through this before in our history with the robber barons, and he warned that we're in this space again. And no sooner than he had said that, we saw them all sitting next to Donald Trump at his inauguration. There was Elon Musk. There was Jeff Bezos. There was Mark Zuckerberg. They were all there together, unabashedly in our faces.
That was a terrifying picture.
Yeah, it was. It was a terrifying photo. It was. So
it's like, here we are. We have power.
That's right.
We're about to stomp all over you.
Yesterday was the first official cabinet meeting of Trump 2.0. So he's been so busy signing executive orders he hadn't had time for a cabinet meeting. So he finally gets around to a cabinet meeting yesterday, his first. And Elon Musk is not even in the cabinet. He's wreaking a bunch of havoc, but he is not in the cabinet. Take a guess who did the most talking at the cabinet meeting yesterday outside of Donald Trump? Elon Musk. If you look at the photos today, they're everywhere. Because Elon Musk is not in the cabinet, he does not have a seat at the table. He's standing up with that crazy MAGA hat on, with his T-shirt, his long black trench coat. So he's totally inappropriately attired for the moment, but he's standing up because there is not a seat for him. He isn't in the cabinet. But nobody did more talking, we were told yesterday in that cabinet meeting, than the oligarch Elon Musk. I want to unpack all of that when we come forward. And certainly inside of Black America, there is talk everywhere of this economic boycott, this economic blackout, they're calling it, tomorrow, over the next 24-hour period. You heard Zephyr suggest earlier that there are, actually I'm quoting her, that there are plenty of ways to fight back effectively, starting with not panicking. Okay, we won't panic, but what about economic blackouts? What about economic boycotts? And everybody in Black America is talking about this boycott for 24 hours. It's been called again starting tomorrow, Friday. So we'll talk about that and a great deal more. She is the relatively new columnist for The Nation magazine. Her piece is called Anti-Monopolist. I'm delighted to have her on. More with Zephyr Teachout when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer lets you easily compare direct rates from different insurance companies, so you can be confident you're getting the right one, even if it's not with Progressive. Way more confident than you were when you tried online gaming. Who knew 12-year-old boys could be so mean? And where did they learn to swear like that? 2 hours of losing to these underage trash talkers, and you're starting to question if maybe you really should stick to pickleball and other boomer stuff. So use Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer and be confident you're getting insurance that's right for you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. A law enforcement operation in Plum Grove, Texas led to the arrest of nearly 120 illegal aliens, including an alleged MS-13 member accused of murder. The operation targeted criminal illegal migrants and national security threats. Jeff Bezos announced that the Washington Post's opinion section will now focus on supporting personal liberties and free markets, leading to the resignation of opinion editor David Shipley. This shift has sparked both praise and criticism. U.S. schools face a deadline to end diversity programs or risk losing federal funding, but many are not making immediate changes, believing they are on solid legal ground. Some state officials advise maintaining current policies. And a bug on iPhones caused auto dictation to replace racist with Trump, sparking concerns about AI biases. Apple quickly fixed the issue, highlighting the need for refining AI tools. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
If you or someone you know is affected by the Los Angeles wildfires, you are not alone. No matter how sad, scared, or heartbroken you feel, CalHope is here for you and all those affected by the devastating wildfires. Find free, safe, and confidential mental health support at calhope.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers snapped a 3-game losing streak with a 122-117 win at Chicago. James Harden dropped 30 points. He had 7 3-pointers. The Clippers had a good shooting night from 3-point range. They shot 51%. Amir Coffey had 20 points off the bench. The Clippers and Lakers meet up Friday night at Crypto.com. The Lakers are in action tonight against Minnesota. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked number 2 in the country, had an easy time at Wisconsin last night. UCLA beat Wisconsin by 30, 91-61. Lauren Betts led the Bruins with 26 points and 10 rebounds. She was almost perfect from the floor, making 11 of 12 shots. The Bruins moved into a first-place tie in the Big Ten Conference with 4th-ranked USC. The win last night sets up Saturday's showdown between UCLA and USC, a game that will decide the Big Ten regular season title. 6 p.m. tip-off at Pauley Pavilion. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like the style, though.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide Free and Gentle provides an excellent Tide clean, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues like dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on your skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Ever have one of those days where your gut just feels blah?
Ugh, yes.
Occasional bloating or gas could be signs that your gut is out of balance, but Align Probiotic can help. Align 24/7 Digestive Support is a daily use probiotic with a unique strain to help relieve occasional digestive issues. It's the #1 doctor recommended brand. So when you feel the signs, it's time to try Align. Align Probiotic. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Zephyr Teach out of the Nation magazine. Her column is called The Anti-Monopolist. I am thrilled to have her on this program. Before I get to that economic boycott that everybody in Black America is talking about, this economic blackout for tomorrow, let me go first to these oligarchs. We've been talking, in case you've just tuned in this hour with Zephyr Teach out about this juxtaposition between living in a capitalist society and this extreme concentration of power and wealth in the hands of a few in the richest nation in the history of the world, where poverty and economic inequality and economic immobility run amok. I digress on that for now. But I want to talk about these two oligarchs. I want to start with Musk first and then go to Bezos. Bezos made a bold move yesterday. And maybe bold is the wrong word, but I was just flummoxed. Not surprised, but flummoxed by what Jeff Bezos did yesterday at the Washington Post. If you did not hear what he did at the Post yesterday, stand by for a second. I promise to get right to it. Let me go to Elon Musk first. I said moments ago that there he was in his black T-shirt, which read, by the way, tech support. That was his T-shirt yesterday, tech support, with his long black trench coat, his MAGA hat, just kind of walking around the table inside the cabinet room. And the only person to speak more than Elon Musk yesterday, who is not a member of the cabinet, was the president himself, Donald Trump. I don't need to color it much more for you, Zephyr. Take it any way you want to take it.
Well, I mean, Musk right now is grabbing from the government. He just grabbed a $2 billion, or he's in the process of grabbing a $2 billion contract from Verizon. He's a kleptocrat. He's calling it, he's using, the excuse of looking for waste, but he's clearly just looking for his own power and his own money. And the truth is, everything Musk does, he gets more and more unpopular. It's doing terrible damage that really matters in people's lives, but the public doesn't like it. Mm. I mean, there have been red state Republicans at town hall meetings with people standing up and saying, get control of the government. Don't cut our programs. Stop giving away to billionaires. So the other one thing I want to say about Musk is, if you think okay, how could we have stopped getting to this moment? There's a lot of different steps along the way, but 2022, Musk owned half the satellites in the world, Starlink, and we allowed him to buy Twitter against anti-monopoly objections that you shouldn't own two major communications infrastructure at the same time. Basic, old school anti-monopoly is you can't allow the ownership of that kind of communications infrastructure in one arena and then in another arena as well. So when we think about how we're going to get back from this moment, we got to strike at the root of power, which is the ability to own so many different companies at once and merge that power together. We can't just strike at the behavior.
So that's one oligarch, Elon Musk, and his behavior yesterday in the cabinet meeting. Let me move now to Jeff Bezos. I want to do this in reverse order because it's fun and because I can and because I think it will make the point even more so. So let me do reverse order. Here's what I mean. I want to give you first some reaction to what Jeff Bezos did yesterday at the Washington Post. Let me give you the reaction first, and then I'll tell you what he did if you didn't see it. Speaking of the oligarchs, the billionaire, richest man in the world, Elon Musk, said bravo at Jeff Bezos. That was his response to what Bezos did. Elon says, bravo, Jeff Bezos. The conservative commentator Charlie Kirk says, good. The culture is changing rapidly for the better. On the other side, Bernie Sanders had this, he posted this immediately. This is what oligarch ownership of the media looks like. The second richest guy in the world, Bezos, owns the Washington Post. He has now declared the editorial page of the paper is going Trump right wing. Surprise, Mr. Musk agrees. We must support independent media, close quote. That's Bernie Sanders. You are listening right now, I might add, to independent media. Having said that, you're listening to that not just on this side of the microphone, but on the other side as well. The nation and this station and this program. Now, here's what Bezos did yesterday. Now, I want to just read you what his own paper, the Washington Post, they've got to cover this. So I want to read to you what the Washington Post, his paper, said yesterday about what he did. And the funny thing about this, I wish you could see this, but you know this if you read the Washington Post. The slogan at the Washington Post for many years now is what? Democracy dies in darkness. That is their slogan. Democracy dies in darkness. Every day you see it printed on the cover of the paper. Democracy dies in darkness. Here's the story. Under that header, the billionaire owner of the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos, narrowed the topics covered by its opinion section Wednesday by defending personal liberties and the free market, a pivot away from its traditional broad focus and prompting the news outlet's opinion editor to resign. I'm reading from the Washington Post, his paper. Bezos, who is also the founder and largest individual shareholder of Amazon, said on X, Elon Musk platform, and I quote, viewpoints opposing those pillars will be left to be published by others, close quote. I'm reading from the Washington Post, his paper. The move was received by some as an indication that Bezos is making decisions for the storied news outlet with an eye toward avoiding retaliation by President Donald Trump. Bezos, though, cast the change as a modernization from the days when newspapers offered opinions on a broad range of topics. Now, he said, this is a quote coming, wait for it, quote from Jeff Bezos. He said the internet does that job. If you want opposing opinions to what we're going to write about free markets, go to the internet. Your turn, Zephyr.
Oh, my gosh. So much to say. So, first of all, do you remember when people said, don't worry about Jeff Bezos owning the Washington Post? You laughed. But it was the majority, thinking, careful person view. He's just going to be a good owner.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of interference. I just feel like there was a level of crazy naivete may be too generous. But, of course, us anti-monopolists, we're saying you do not let the most powerful man in the world own the paper whose job is to be the watchdog of D.C.
That's right.
To be the reporter of government. That is essentially dangerous setup. And so, but at the time, Democrats were thinking Bezos is going to save us from Trump, right? This is going to be great. Think back to the 2017, 2018, 2019. He's our bulwark against Trump. And so, first of all, let that be a lesson. I mean, this is, by the way, you know who knew this and spoke about this a lot is Du Bois, who was one of the great anti-monopolists, and Frederick Douglass saying, right, "The great estates too big for society are the readiest means by which liberty is overthrown." That's Douglass. Yeah. Well, we have in Bezos a great estate that is too large for society. So, that's one. It's just that level of power and his own self-interest. Yeah, go ahead.
No. You're on the road. I didn't mean to stop you. I just wanted to say before we go forward that I like Zephyr Teachout already anyway. I love her writing. I love the column Anti-Monopolist. But when a white woman at any point, but certainly in Black History Month, quotes Du Bois and Douglass, you all right with me. You listen to Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first at 888-ALLSTATE or allstate.com. Like to check your sunroof is closed first before driving through the car wash.
Whoa. No. Wait, whoa.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So if you want to save money, check Allstate first at 888-ALLSTATE or allstate.com. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Who cares about the Black community in Altadena? We do. On Saturday, March 8th at 10 a.m., it's the premiere of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr. This new weekly show will explore the deep roots and resilience of Altadena's Black community as we track its recovery and reimagine its future. From relief efforts to rebuilding, we're raising up voices, stories, and solutions to build back Black Altadena better and stronger than ever. It's Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr, every Saturday at 10 a.m. beginning Saturday, March 8th, with an encore presentation, Sundays at noon.
James Farr, the man who is the voice for Black Los Angeles.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It does indeed, with Zephyr Teachout, the anti-monopolist columnist for The Nation magazine. Watching my time is getting away from me. A number of Black leaders have called for an economic boycott or an economic blackout, if you prefer. A 24-hour blackout on Friday, February the 28th, that would be tomorrow, from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. I'm quoting now from the flyer that's circulating all over social media. This is the first step to counter the attack on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Here's what these organizers are calling for and asking for. Do not make any purchases from 12 a.m. To 11:59 p.m. all day Friday. Do not make any purchases. Do not shop online or in store. No Amazon, no Walmart, no Best Buy, no McDonald's and other fast food stores, no gas, no major retailers. Do not use credit or debit cards for non-essential spending. Try to buy all you need before February the 28th. The flyer that's circulating everywhere goes on from there. Zephyr Teachout writes and believes that in this moment of concentration of power and wealth, there are plenty of ways to fight back effectively. Is this one of those ways, Zephyr?
Yeah, I mean, we all really have a role here. And I think that's really key, is we are not powerless. I started to talk about this, but, Musk is polling badly. And, yeah, Trump is going to continue to do terrible things, and Musk is going to continue to do terrible things. But it actually matters how popular Trump is. It really does. It matters how much backlash there is to his policies. And the other day, he just came forward and said, I'm going to get rid of the Postal Service, classic Trump. But then he backed it up. Then he sort of said, oh, no, I'm just going to do a study about it. Because he's starting to see, people are getting mad about this. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be Pollyannish. I mean, we're in a terrible situation right now, a truly terrible situation. But when that moment comes, when does Trump defy a court order? The more people are in their local communities, speaking out, acting, engaging in these personal acts of resistance and collective acts of resistance, and I do think it's most important when it's collective, the more you're going to see him maybe hesitate, because all those civil servants are not going to follow his order then. And Trump does not want people not following his order.
Nope, he does not.
So there's not a silver bullet here, but it's a recognition that we all do have power. I don't think we should limit it to economic power, the boycott power.
Yeah.
But saying, come on, he's just being blatantly racist in his firings and overstepping his power in so many ways. We have had more than enough.
Yeah, we just got.
I think that's important.
No, I think it's important as well. So much so that we spent time talking about it yesterday. To your point about these racist firings and Trump not liking his orders not being followed. That was part of our dialogue yesterday with retired General Dana Petard, talking about Trump firing the black chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Brown. Perhaps in part because he could not be convinced or had any level of confidence that when he starts telling the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to do something stupid and crazy, that General Brown might not have followed his order. General Petard told us yesterday if the president had told General Brown to do X, Y, or Z, and it was in opposition to the Constitution, then he would have told the president, I cannot do that. And they fired him quicker than right now and sooner than at once. Our remaining moments with Zephyr Teachout, I want to close on this note. She raised this earlier, and it's a perfect place, I think, to wrap our dialogue, at least today, which I've enjoyed immensely. This notion that this fight that we have to fight is really a part and parcel of the fight for freedom that we've long been engaged in, certainly inside of Black America as we celebrate the remaining days of Black History Month. This fight for freedom is one that we've long been engaged in. We've taught everybody else in this country, quite frankly, how to fight. We are the litmus test for fighting for freedom, as it were, in this country. So we'll let her situate this present fight about the concentration of power and wealth in this present moment. How does that fit in to the American fight for freedom? We'll give Zephyr the last word when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Hey, you. you? I knew I'd find you back in the same aisle. What are you looking for today? More fiber? More laxatives? More of the same ways to manage your constipation? Look, if your constipation with belly pain keeps coming back, you may have irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C. Ask your doctor how Linzess can help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LANZESS.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
One bank, yeah.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Zephyr Teach out of the Nation magazine. In this, how might I put it, unprecedented era of rising autocracy and oligarchy, the stuff we've been talking about in this hour, somebody's got to hold the powerful to account. And I was just thinking, speaking of holding the powerful to account, that this is, I was talking to Katrina Vandenhoeven not long ago, this is the 160th anniversary of the Nation magazine. Just hold on to that for a second. Yep. 160 years of the Nation magazine. So this program is syndicated, Zephyr, you heard in stations and markets all across the country right now. But my home station that I control in L.A., KBLA, is just in our 3rd year. We're pushing toward our 4th anniversary on Juneteenth of this year. I'm thinking of my station in Chicago, WVON, Melody Span Cooper. They've been around 60-plus years. I was just in Philadelphia not long ago celebrating WURD, where we also heard their 20th anniversary. But the Nation's been around 160 years as one of the leading sources of progressive politics and culture. And this year, they added to their rundown of columnist Zephyr Teachout, and we're honored to have him for the first time as columnist for the Nation on this program. I've got 2 minutes left. Zephyr, I will give it to you. Situate for me this present fight in the fight for freedom broadly that you referenced earlier in our dialogue.
Well, first of all, I can't wait to hear your 160th anniversary of your station. That's going to be a party.
Yeah, I won't be around for it, but it will be a party, I hope. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. But look, I think we thought for a while you could have freedom without economic freedom. Not we, but some people thought that. And that's where so many in the Democratic Party leadership went astray. But you can't have freedom without economic freedom. And so in this moment where we are facing autocracy, kleptocracy, the radical concentration of power, we're both going to have to fight against this incredible threat. And then the boycott you're talking about, this sort of exciting boycott tomorrow, maybe that's the first step. It's not just a boycott for a day.
Sure.
It's the beginning of taking it to where it hurts, of going after the source of power, saying we are not going to allow this kind of concentration of power to exist, no matter how nice you might be for 10 years, Jeff Bezos, or not that I ever think he was nice, but,
Sure.
he played nice with Democrats for a long time,
Yep.
but that we're just not going to allow anybody to be a king. This is not a country for kings. And it's going to take that level of bottom-up, engaged resistance, but vision too, a vision where we actually have something like freedom in this country with real equality. That's what we're going to need in this moment.
When you come on next, we'll talk about that vision for the future, but you can see why she is already and going to be a great columnist. I love that line, a great place to close. This is not a country for kings. That can be a bumper sticker. It's a great slogan. This is not a country for kings. Just make sure you give Zephyr Teachout attribution when you quote her. Zephyr, your first time on as columnist, not your last. I promise you. Thank you for your time. We'll do it again.
A pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
My great honor. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. A law enforcement operation in Plum Grove, Texas led to the arrest of nearly 120 illegal aliens, including an alleged MS-13 member accused of murder. The operation targeted criminal illegal migrants, and National Science Section will now focus on supporting personal liberties and free markets, leading to the resignation of opinion editor David Shipley. This shift has sparked both praise and criticism. U.S. schools face a deadline to end diversity